In this episode of my podcast, Relentless Life on Your Terms, Season 2, Episode 9, I sit down with amazing Ahmad Imam, who 2 years ago started using the platform LinkedIn, to now having over 630,000 followers on LinkedIn alone. The last month alone has grown over 100,000 and gets 2 million views and growing per month. If you want to learn how to create amazing content on LinkedIn and other social media platforms and really take your game to the next level and how to scale your business and to really make a difference, this is one episode you don't want to miss. And remember, if you like my content, please like, share, and subscribe. Welcome to my podcast, Relentless Life on Your Terms. I have a very special guest with me. He's an entertainer, content creator, friend of mine, media sensation, Mr. Ahmad Imam. How are you, mate?
I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to be here, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us, Imam. And for those who don't know you, your journey started only a few years ago in social media creation. You were in real estate before that, funny enough, correct?
I was a director of a property consultancy in Sydney, and I made a transition from property to events, which I'm still in, and with a large focus on content creation now. So as I've built up a bit of a brand on social media, specifically LinkedIn, it's afforded me many other opportunities, which is brilliant.
Now with you, you're also helping me in my personal LinkedIn. Now, following your growth is just astronomical. To not be in LinkedIn for just about 2 years, and in the last 4 weeks, you've grown over 100,000 followers. Currently, You've got 636, I believe I checked today. By the time this airs in 3 weeks, you'll probably have about 800,000 the way you're going. Who knows? What's the secret? I mean, how do you get such amazing reach? What are you doing?
So I mean, a few things. I've approached the content journey a little different from most. For me, content has almost been like a journal. So I've been journaling my thoughts. I've been journaling the things that I've learned, the lessons, and really just passing it on in a way to serve others. So it hasn't been a focus on selling. It's more been a focus on serving. And I've been prolific with my content over the last, let's say, 12 months. But I started off, really awkwardly. I was terrified of video content. I hated the idea of putting a camera in front of my face and recording myself. I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I sounded, just like most people, right? But like anything else, it's a muscle that you build. And so I kept consistent. I kept at it. And funnily enough, sometimes you're terrified of something, but then when you actually give it a proper go, you realize that it can actually end up being a very solid skill set. It's now something that I'm very well known for, and I teach others how to do the same. But to answer your question, look, I've given it a bit of a human element. So I mean, I've approached it with a lot of vulnerability, a bit of a personal touch. I've given people the opportunity to really get to know me as I've peeled back a few layers, and they've seen the human that's behind the business. And that combined with a few posts that I was lucky enough to have go viral, have built up a lot of momentum for me. And now I'm at a stage where the growth is exponential, and I'm very grateful.
Well, look, definitely deserve that growth. And I followed your journey. And what resonated with me was that human element. And without digging too much into it, and I'd like to touch on it, being a youngster, you said you had issues with confidence. You couldn't look people in the eyes. You were bullied at school. And these are issues that a lot of people go through. My son in particular has had these issues from going from school to school. And these things can deeply scar an individual, and they can take them to adulthood and beyond. So to be able to, my first question was, what were you like as a child?
Yeah, look, I mean, I was heavily bullied between the age of, let's say, 5 and 15, pretty much my entire schooling. So I was an immigrant. I mean, I was born in Egypt. My family immigrated to Australia when I was 4. I couldn't speak a word of English. When I got here, I was more or less thrown into school and had to pick up the English. I sounded different. I looked very different. And because of that, I was bullied for a good 10 years. And I mean, when you're bullied at that age, and it's an age, as you know, where you're trying to get a concept of your place in this world, your place in the community, your place amongst friendship circles. And when you feel like your confidence is crushed, and your opinion of yourself is so small, and you don't feel worthy, I mean, it really does carry on over the years to come unless you actually do something about it. So I was a very shy and awkward kid. I couldn't look people in the eyes. I even got to the stage where I felt like I didn't deserve to take up the voice space because I didn't feel like I had anything worthy to say. And when I think about it now, it's absolutely heartbreaking. But I got to a point where I actually had a boss at the time when I was working at a pizza restaurant that introduced me to Tony Robbins. And I had no idea who the man was, had no, previous affiliation with any self-improvement. So I didn't know what to expect. But as soon as I heard the first Tony Robbins CD, and it was a CD, I'm showing my age a little bit. As soon as I heard that voice, and we know that voice, I was just hooked, and it put me on this journey to then build my confidence and jump out of my comfort zone. And I've been doing that for the last 15, 20 years. So any opportunity I've had where I've been scared of something or terrified of something, I know that's a sign for me to then try and conquer that part of me. And it facilitates growth. So in the early stages, it was me volunteering to MC at a friend's wedding, or maybe volunteering to do a sales presentation, anything that scared me. And when you do that for 15, 20 years now, you build up this level of resilience and true confidence that is just immeasurable. So for me, content creation was just an extension of that. It was something else that I was a little bit scared of, something else I wanted to conquer. And that's what I did. I just kept at it until it was no longer a fear, until it was actually a strength.
Oh, look, funny you say this Tony Robbins CDs. I've got them at home as well. That had a big impact on me. I use them a lot, but having that difference that he's had on so many millions of lives, and now you're currently having, and to see a kid that was bullied, and I talk to my son about these all the time because he's had horrific stories. He was an ethnic kid going from 6 schools to losing his hearing, to getting beat up every day, bullied every day. And it's something I never went through, but I empathized with him because I thought every lunchtime he would wait on the couch and stay there and cry because no one would play with him and go back because he was slightly different. And I say to my son, if you're bullied, you should feel sorry for them, not you, because something special is going to happen to you. And I can see the scars still there, and I'm trying to break those barriers down. So to see what you've done, I can't tell you how happy I am to call you a friend. Now, a couple of things that you've got is that I really resonate with. Your best is yet to come. You're never a finished product, which I absolutely love. And to show kindness to yourself and others. Why do you feel that's important?
I realized through the course of my experiences and my journey throughout life, and then the things that I've personally been through, some of the hurt, some of the pain, that kindness was not only very important to me, it's my core intrinsic value. So there are a number of things that I value: kindness, optimism, growth, integrity, respect. But when it comes to kindness, I genuinely have a mission to make this world a kinder place because I was treated unkindly. And I don't want that for anybody. I mean, when I hear the story of your son, it breaks my heart. And I get it. I understand what he's going through, and it sucks. So for me, kindness is twofold. It's about, one, learning to be kind to yourself, which I had to do. I was really hard on myself. I got to the stage where I believed all the BS that was being fed to me. And as a result, I felt worthless. As a result, I lacked my confidence and I didn't believe in myself. So we have to learn to be kind to ourselves first and foremost. And that means self-respect. It means being kind to yourself. It means believing in yourself. It means not buying into all the BS stories that we feed ourselves. And the other thing, of course, is being kind to other people. And you and I have spoken about this offline, and it's something that we share. It comes back tenfold. And if there's anything missing from this world right now, it's just a bit of kindness.
I love that. And if you say that, look, you're going to have to deal with every challenge you've got in front of you. You want to do with a smile on your face and be nice to other people and treating other people the way you want to be treated. And I employ that through my business as well. There's no hierarchy there. We're all human beings. We're there to achieve a common goal, and we're there to have fun. So I think that's very important. A lot of people actually say that, as you know, Ahmad, but they don't actually live it. And I see through your posts and now getting to physically know you, it's what drew me to you. Besides your amazing growth and how much you actually know about social media, it was what your core values were. Because that's, to me, even more important than the front.
Yeah. And look, once you understand what those core values are and what's important to you, and again, you and I have had this discussion, it really governs all the relationships that you decide to build and foster, and then all the decisions that you then make. Before you make a decision, you're like, are these in alignment with my values? Before you get into a business partnership with someone, you're like, Are they in alignment with my values? Because if they're not, I guarantee you there's going to be conflict and it's not going to work out. So it's also a great measure and foundation to determine what decisions to make in life.
And you might make money, but it's going to end bad. And if you're not going to enjoy working with that person, is there a point? Because you've got to also ask that. Energy is like, I always say to people, it's like a magnet. It will attract what you put out.
Yep.
Move you forward. So it's like a circle. Good deeds will come back 100-fold because they're going to build momentum. That's not the reason to do a good deed, obviously, but it also makes it a nicer place.
Absolutely.
So in the last 2 years, to have 636, in the last 4 weeks, you've grown over 100. You're growing at 3,000-4,000 people a day, which is astronomical. You say be real, you say be authentic. What do you attribute that sort of growth to? I know you've had experiences in the past and you're sharing them and you're vulnerable and you're giving a lot of life lessons, but a lot of people do, and they don't have that sort of growth.
Yeah.
If you can put it down to one or two things, and this is what I think has made a key difference to me, besides being a fundamentally good human being that wants to give and is kind, what would they be?
Yeah, look, there's been strategy behind it all. So I mean, of course, I'm giving myself, I'm peeling back a few layers and I'm being authentic, but behind it all, there is of course a strategy. So I mean, for me to build momentum on a platform and look, the first 5, 10, 15, 20,000 followers that you build on any platform take time. You know, that's not done quickly. Growth increases exponentially as you do grow and build your following. Like, I mean, I've got people that just follow me now because they see I've got a large following, right? But I mean, to start off, you almost have to prove yourself. You have to show people why they should be following you, and you have to give them as much value as you can. So my strategy was to every now and then, I'd say every 1 or 2 months when I started, I would put out a piece of content that was so disruptive and so different. It could be controversial, it could be vulnerable, it could be engaging the community that got eyeballs onto my content. And I was fortunate enough to have a lot of videos and a lot of pieces of content go viral early on, which obviously helped my momentum.
Define viral for people that are listening. What does viral mean?
So a viral video, in my definition, is when a video or a piece of content gets far more views than you have followers. Excuse me. So for example, if you have 5,000 views and you put out a video that gets 10,000, sorry, if you have 5,000 followers and you put out a video that has 10,000 views, that video, in my opinion, has gone viral, right? And
2 million views a month.
Yeah, and I'm averaging now 2 million views a month because I built that momentum. So some examples of some viral pieces of content that I put out. I collaborated with a gentleman from the States and we put out the very first music video on LinkedIn, right? When you think of LinkedIn, you think of a professional platform, you know, a place where you can showcase your online CV. No one was doing anything like that. So, I mean, there was strategy behind that in terms of, one, we wanted to disrupt the hell out of the platform and do something that's never been done. And two, to involve so many people within the community, other influencers within the community, that we can then tag into the post and involve into the post, which would actually help it go viral. So we had the intention of having that post go viral before it actually went viral based on that strategy. So for example, we had about 70 influencers involved that cameoed in that video. And of course, when you post, you tag everyone in and everyone's excited and happy to be involved in the video. So they then tag 5 or 10 people. Before you know it, the post has reached thousands. And we actually got a little under 200,000 views on that video. Other things that I put out are speaking about things that were very vulnerable to me. Like, shocking vulnerability is a great way to have a post go viral, you know, as long as it's absolutely genuine to you.
Which it was when you brought out the ones that you can't look at someone in the eyes. Because if anyone knows you, even me, if I knew off the cuff and you told me those stories, I thought, wow. And the reason I think that resonates with me or most people is look how far this person has come. Look at the adversity they've overcome. Look at the challenges and look who's standing before me today.
Yeah. And that's why it's so shocking. So, I mean, that's why I like to push those pieces of content out. One, because I've worked very hard to try and destroy my ego. I've worked very hard on my insecurities over the last few decades. And the third thing is, if there's anyone out there that feels that way, that feels the way that I used to feel, I can literally speak to them with conviction and say, believe me, I understand how that feels. I know how that feels. But doing this over the course of the next few months, years can actually help you overcome that. And so people like that vulnerability, that human element. It's a great way to build a community of people that believe the things that you believe, and you're relating to people on a whole different level. So shocking vulnerability is a great way to build a community and to get eyes and ears on your content.
Let me ask you a question. What do you see some of the biggest mistakes companies making on social media?
The biggest mistake I see people making or companies making is that they put out tone deaf content, right? That they put out content that doesn't really resonate with their audience or doesn't differentiate them from the average person in the news feed, right? Like a lot of companies these days are marketing B2B or B2C, when really these days it's all about H to H, and that's human to human.
Well, yeah.
Right. And that's the way to approach it. And you'll see ads that cut through. You'll see marketing that cuts through. And if you ask yourself why it cut through, it's usually because it triggered some sort of emotion within you that was far deeper than anything at the service level. And when you trigger that sort of emotion and you come across a piece of marketing that really hits you at your core, into your soul, you're like, holy crap, I'm paying attention now. You know what I mean? So
sorry, go on.
No. So for me, to answer your question, it's putting out tone deaf marketing that doesn't really relate. And I'll give you an example. This year, we all experienced something that we'd never experienced before. All right. This year, obviously, the COVID situation happened and impacted every single person and their dog. Everyone had to adapt, had to pivot in some way, had to think about how to approach this differently. Any business that was marketing that wasn't touching on COVID or wasn't touching on how people were feeling, people feeling fearful, people having lost jobs, people getting made redundant. If you're not touching on what people are actually feeling throughout this year, you're being tone deaf. And so a way to approach that correctly is to say, yes, I understand how you feel. I understand this is happening, but this is a solution. You know, this is an offering. So it's important to actually make sure you empathize with your audience and understand what they're feeling at the time. That's how you connect.
And you look at companies like Nike, I couldn't believe. Do you see what they've done for the first time with their brand?
No, what have they done? What's that?
The ones just don't do it due to the base of the times and that. So they're listening to the market that much that they've changed. Obviously, it's just going to be for a period of time. Yep. For a company that's known for their slogan, just do it, to bring that out shows emotional intelligence to a different level, which is exactly what you're saying, to the core of what someone's feeling.
I love that. And you hear that and you're like, they nailed it. You know, that's how I'm feeling, right? That's how I'm feeling right now. So, I mean, that's exactly how to approach it.
Yeah, and that's obviously very important. So for someone that's starting their social media content, what are some of the tips you'd advise them? Obviously, you said to be genuine. Should they create X pieces of content? Should it be on one platform? Should it be on multiple platforms? Because it's all overwhelming. Someone that's doesn't love technology, someone like me as an example, give me 1 or 2 tips for someone starting in content, how they can build a following or a name for themselves, or to create value and impact like yourself.
Yeah, first of all, I understand that many people have a fear of judgment. Many people hate the idea and concept of putting themselves out there, creating and posting content. What are my friends going to think? What are my colleagues going to think? All of that stuff goes through our heads. Let me say this. Nobody cares what you look like. Nobody cares what you sound like. What they do care about is the message, right? And if you've got a message that you know can actually help someone and serve someone, then you've got the obligation to share that message. So that's something that I reinforce all the time. The second thing is, I just want you to get started. You know, the hardest part with anything is getting started, especially with content. Again, because there's that fear associated with the unknown. What happens when I post content? Am I going to post it and I'm going to hear crickets? There's going to be no likes and comments and I'm going to look like an idiot. Or am I going to post it and people are not going to like it? Are they going to like it? Just get started. And if you have a phone and a message, then that's all you need. All right. So forget about the fancy cameras and the lighting and the microphones and all that kind of stuff. If you have a phone and a message, you can get started. But my recommendation is 1, get started, speak your truth, focus on building a community. And the 3 tips that I give to people when they're feeling a little disheartened are, number 1, don't focus on building a following, focus on building genuine relationships, because that's the key. You build relationships one person at a time, you get involved into groups and then communities, and before you know it, your growth and your brand starts to increase exponentially. Number 2, don't focus on influence, focus on impact. You know, impact is far more important than influence. And let me put it this way. You could have 1,000 followers and impact more people than someone that has 1 million followers, right? And that's based on your message and your intention to serve. And the third thing is, don't obsess about being popular, obsess about being yourself. That's the key. And when you truly embrace yourself and you show the world yourself through this content, you're going to have some people that don't like it. You're going to have a lot of people that do. And the people that don't like it are not part of your tribe. The people that do like it become part of your community. So that's my advice.
Well, look, so in summary, it's not about influences, that impact. You said human to human is very important. And be yourself. It's not about being popular. And like with anything, and I'm taking notes because I always learn a lot when I speak to Ahmad. It's like with anything, and I say this with business all the time, just put one step ahead of the other every single day. You'll build momentum day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And I remember a friend said to mine, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Just start, just begin, and you'll continue. I always find that very funny.
Get there eventually, right?
Who wants to eat an elephant first of all? I guess, but how would you? I don't know how you do it. I guess one bite at a time, Chris. You said, all right, it's a weird analogy, but I understand the concept. So I find it applicable and very funny.
That's exactly how it works. And you know what? You fast forward a couple of years and you look back on the last few years and you won't believe the growth that you've had. But at the time, it's very, very small, incremental, almost unnoticeable growth. But it does increase exponentially. Absolutely.
I do want to mention that you said you did that viral content when you were rapping, and you were strategically planned, but you mentioned nothing whatsoever about real estate in that content.
Yes.
You generated, I think it was 20 odd leads, four sales from a piece of content that had nothing to do with real estate because they actually liked and connected with you. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that's what's fascinating about it. So when I put out this video, and I'm not asking people to go out there and do music videos, I want you to do your equivalent, right? Whatever your equivalent is. If you're a fitness person, show you at the gym. If you collect stamps, do that, whatever it is. But for me, this was showing another side of me and obviously being strategic with it. But in putting out this video, it was a rap video with another gentleman on there beatboxing. And I actually generated 14 leads from that. So 14 people reached out to me after watching that video purely because they were entertained and they liked my personality and what I presented to them. And then they went about looking at my profile, finding out what I did, which at the time was property, and then reaching out to me to try and connect and have a actual business meeting. And from that, I had, from that 4 actually converted and transacted in terms of purchasing property. So, I mean, it's incredible when you make that connection. People will go out of their way to try and do business with people that they really, really like, people that they truly connect with and resonate with. And I think that's the message.
I think if to do business, people will listen to you if they like you, but if they trust you, they'll do business with you. So you shared an element in you that people like. Now, for those who don't know, what does the term edutainer mean?
So edutainer is a combination of educating and entertaining. So I like to do both in my content. I like to both educate and entertain, and I feel it's a great way to not only learn, but to also pass on some knowledge. And I like to have fun doing it. The way I approach my content journey is just fun. I don't want it to be a chore. I don't want it to be something else that I have on my to-do list. I want it to be something that I look forward to when I create it and post it and engage and build a community. So yeah, I'm very much an edutainer now, and that's what people know me for. And
a fun fact that Mr. Ahmad was a hip hop artist at 21. I couldn't help myself. Sorry.
Who would have thought? Yeah. I was a hip hop artist at 21, a failed one, I should add. I realized that I probably shouldn't pursue that because I absolutely sucked at it.
When I put out that video from We Gift Wrap and you liked it, and I looked back at the old video, I saw the connection there, which there you go. That was awesome. But you know what? I think the most important part of whether it's social media content creation, whether it's work, is that you hang around people that you enjoy, you can learn off, you have fun, and you feed off good energy. Energy is important. And I know, as we mentioned before, being kind and having that energy is a non-negotiable. Where I come from, if I work with you, you need to have those attributes. Otherwise, I'm not going to enjoy working with you. What's the point?
Life is short, brother. It really is. And, I like to have people around me that not only share my values, but people that have positive energy, that are optimistic, that are going to help me be better. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you.
I want to share something with you. For those who don't know Ahmed, he definitely has an abundant mindset. The questions that I ask you, you unreservingly give all the answer all the time without holding anything back. And very few people actually do that because they think it's my IP, it's my this. And you're a very giving person and someone that shares so much. I've only had a few sessions with you and I highly recommend anyone to get in touch because you know your thing. You have an abundant mindset, which is it's a very refreshing thing. You don't see that often. So I definitely wanted to mention that to everyone who's watching this or going to watch this. Now you're about to, what are you currently doing with yourself, Ahmad? How do people get in touch with you? What are you up to now? I know you create content, but.
Yep. Yes, I mean, if you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on my social, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, at the Ahmad Imam. You can catch me on any one of those social channels. I'm probably most active on LinkedIn. And that's probably what people know me for. I know it sounds strange to be a personality on LinkedIn, but you know, that's the way life throws you those. In terms of what I'm doing now, I am creating content full time. I'm teaching people how to create content. I'm passing on the lessons that I've learned, not only to build influence, but to actually build impact. When you build impact, you can position yourself as a serious authority within your niche. And so I'm working with a lot of tier one businesses, CEOs, directors, general managers to help position them correctly, build their brands on social, specifically LinkedIn, and help them create some really impactful content. I work with people one-on-one. So if you'd like me to personally coach you, you can reach out to me and I'm happy to have that discussion. What's really exciting is because I've been focusing on trying to help as many people as I possibly can. And of course, we're all limited by our time, right? I've been working on launching a content creation business that helps people make content creation fun and easy. You know I've spoken to many people who see content as a chore, something else that's on their to-do list. They procrastinate because it's not something they look forward to. So this is something that's going to make content creation fun and easy. What this business is going to do, it's going to give people content ideas and topics that they can actually discuss. You're going to become part of a content community so that you can be held accountable and you can remain consistent. Because when you're consistent with creating content, that's when you start building some serious momentum. And from that, many opportunities come from it. Speaking arrangements, collaborations, deals, lead generation, the ability to focus on social good. There's so many things that come from that. And also, we're going to gamify this. Okay, so the more content you create, the more points you receive. It then leads to some really cool rank allocations, and you can advance from being a challenger to a content grandmaster over time.
Yes.
Right? Based on the amount of content that you create. So we're going to have fun with this. We're going to build a community around it. It's called The Content Games. You can find it at thecontentgames.com. So check it out. You'll absolutely love it, and feel free to connect if you'd like to do something a little bit more personal.
I highly recommend, because I've worked with Ahmed, and it's fantastic. And you said consistency. I think that's key. If something's consistent, you can trust it. Nothing breeds trust like consistency, because you know exactly what you're going to get. People trust Macca's because their burger's the most consistent burger in the world. You know exactly what you're going to get. Now, are you ready for our quick fire questions?
Yeah, let's go.
Do you have any pets?
No pets, no. I actually live in an apartment, so no pets allowed.
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is a bit of a turquoise blue. You'll see it in my branding.
I did teal. That's actually my Reventon, one of my Reventon colors. Yep. What's your favorite TV show?
Wow, my favorite TV show of all time is probably Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Wow, okay. You're a rapper. You're not a rapper from Philly, but we'll give you that. iPhone or Android?
What was that?
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Milk chocolate or dark chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Okay. Who was your role model growing up?
Look, I'm going to have to go with Tony Robbins. He was the first person that really inspired me, and I wasn't really inspired by many people growing up until that stage. He just, he triggered something in me that just put me on this trajectory that I'm on. So I'm going to have to say Tony Robbins. In addition to that, if we're talking celebrities, as in, actors and that kind of thing, I love Will Smith. I love Dwayne Johnson. I love the way they both carry themselves, their drive. They've gone from strength to strength. We've literally been able to see their evolution throughout their career, and their attitude and mindset is just next level. So they're people that I admire.
Okay. Describe yourself in 3 words as a teenager.
As a teenager, shy, awkward, and funny, I thought anyway.
One item you can't leave the house without. Not your phone.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Everyone's
My wallet, my keys.
always get the same answers there. What annoys you the most? Give me one pet peeve.
What annoys me the most? Look, now it's probably not so much annoys, but when I see people that have so much potential, but they just don't put in the work to try and achieve that potential or release that potential, it frustrates me because I know there are so many other people out there that actually don't have the potential, but actually put in the work and get the results over a longer period of time. So the people out there that, let's say, have natural talent but don't put in the work, frustrates me a little bit.
I agree. Nothing's more frustrating than unfulfilled talent. If you could have one last meal, what would it be?
I'll tell you what, one of my favorite meals are tortellini. I love my tortellini. I love my pasta. I love my pizza. I'm a massive carbs person. I know it's terrible for you, but that's my weakness.
Me too. When you're in Melbourne, I'll take you somewhere nice. Now, if your house was on fire, you had to run in to get three things, what would you get? Assuming your family's out. So
I was going to say, can I take my kids and wife? Like, is that all right?
we're hoping they're out. They've made it out. Three things. You can go and get three things. What are they?
It's going to sound really petty, but I would come and grab my hard drive. So my hard drive has literally everything on there for the last maybe 3 years. Anything that's been in my brain is now on my hard drive. I'd grab that. I'd grab my phones so I can have all the contacts that I need because I'm probably going to be sleeping in a few people's places. And what else would I grab? I'd grab my photos. So the hard copy photos that can't be replaced, the family photos.
You know, it's alarming. Every time I ask, 90% of the answers are the same there, which is good. Name one book that you've read that's positively influenced you.
Without a doubt, my favorite book of all time is The Alchemist. And it's a book that I read every single year. It's about a goat herder from Spain who travels to the deserts of Egypt in search of a treasure, worldly possessions. And he comes across a lot of people along the way, mentors that guide him on the right path and tell him where to find his treasure. And eventually he gets to the location and he realizes throughout the journey that it's not an external treasure, but it's actually the treasure within himself. So it's a book about finding yourself, finding your purpose, finding your passion, and falling in love with yourself. And for me, considering what I'd been through, I really resonated with that.
That story is you, I guess, isn't it? Your journey.
Very, very similar to my journey. So whenever I read that now, it empowers me.
And when we talk about energy, that's why that book attracted you so much and you love it, I guess.
Yeah,
I love hearing stories like that. Who would play you in a movie of the role of your life? Who would be you? Which actor?
Look, I think the resemblance between me and The Rock is probably uncanny. You know what I mean? So
exactly. They're the same size too.
Who would play me in a movie? I don't know, man. Look, I'd
eat a couple more carbs, Ahmad. I reckon you can do
it. I can get as big as The Rock, maybe belly-wise, but I mean, that dude is huge. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen too many people that look like me. So, can I play myself? Is that okay?
There's an answer. Yes, you can.
Okay,
when I play that film, you can play yourself.
Right,
not as expensive if I was to get The Rock. It's quite expensive.
I won't charge much. Don't worry.
Any tattoos?
No tats, no.
Okay. Best gift you've ever received?
Yeah, the best gift I ever received was when I spoke about my boss introducing me to Tony Robbins. He actually gifted me a 24-disc CD set. So for me, that was probably the best gift I've received because it was just overwhelming. When you feel like you are nobody and you find that someone actually pays attention to you and gives you something.
You're working at the pizza shop at the time?
I was working at a pizza shop. I was just a dishwasher, and he gifted me this. And I can't remember what it was worth at the time, but it was at least, do you remember what it was worth? It was a good, what, 500 or 600?
Look, to be honest, I don't know. I actually worked at a pizza shop in Footscray washing dishes as well. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for him to gift that to me when I was just an employee, just washing dishes, and for him to invest that in me, it was an incredible gift. So not just in the physical gift itself.
To do that. He would have seen your soul, that you're kind, and he gave it to you. It was meant to be. Good things happen to good people. If you could have dinner with three people, living or dead, past, who would they be? Who would you invite to dinner?
Wow.
Three people.
3 people. Okay. I'd love I'd love to pick Gary V's brain. So let's say we're having dinner. I'd have Gary Vaynerchuk, I'd have Dwayne Johnson, and I'd probably have Ricky Gervais. just to mix things up. I mean, he'd be a bit of a laugh, just in case it got a bit too serious, right?
He's crazy and he's awesome. Now, when you started on the social media business, what was the hardest thing to learn for you?
I would say creating video content and being comfortable with having a camera in your face and trying to talk to that camera as if it's not there was the hardest thing to get used to. And look, to this day, a few years on, and mind you, I've done a lot of content. There are still times where I get it wrong. I might try and record a video and I need to do 3, 4, 5 takes because I wasn't in the zone. So that's been the hardest thing. And I don't think it's anything that we can ever get used to. But it's certainly something that we can practice to the point where we've got it down to a bit of a fine art.
10,000 hours, you can become an expert in any field if you practice hard enough. The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, great book, and it says that. Now, from this episode, for our people listening, if you want to have 2, 3 key takeaways that you want them to hear, your message, your impact, what would they be? 2, 3 points.
Number 1, focus on impact over influence. Number 2, don't be afraid to share your story. Everyone has one. I was so ashamed of my story for a very, very long time. And the day that I started talking about it and serving people with it was the day it empowered me. Okay. So don't be afraid of your story and sharing your story, because it's usually a message from the universe that tells you where you can best serve people. And the third thing is, when it comes to content, just have fun with it. You know, it's not a chore. It's not something that you have to battle. Just enjoy the process, have fun with it, and grow through it.
That's awesome. Now, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much have you enjoyed this podcast?
Can I give a 14?
You can. Thank you.
I always love talking to you, brother. It's always like a conversation when I talk to you, so it's great.
Thank you very much. And for everyone listening out there, there's a lot of valuable content out there. If you want to pick up your LinkedIn game or your social media game, I couldn't recommend Ahmad enough. I personally work with him and I've seen massive improvements in my game. You will see it on the LinkedIn in the coming weeks. Reach out to him, but more importantly, thanks for sharing as always, mate, and being an impactful speaker and an awesome guy. Thanks for your time, mate.
My pleasure, Chris, and thank you for your time, and thank you for the friendship as well.
You're welcome, brother.